primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Rex Kondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your whole news service providing in-depth coverage of the latest stories from every sector of the galaxy. Welcome to our final transmission of Core World News. As your longtime anchor, I bid you farewell, and bright suns, rimwood travelers, and viewers abroad the galaxy. Good night, and may the Force be with you. Rex signing off.
All right, Grex, good run, buddy. Good run. I guess I wanted to show him on screen, but he's always got a speeder outside waiting for him, and he grabbed his check and he's gone. Always fun there. So
Manzellan's in there too. I saw.
Who was in there?
A couple Anzellans, I think. Droids.
Yeah. I mean, we'll let the Holo tabloids follow him on his way. Yes, this is going to be the last episode branded as Core World News. Next week, we will be back, but not from our transmitting asteroid. As usual, we will be just transmitting guerrilla style from a bar somewhere in the galaxy. And it's changing our format a little bit because we are lousy at conveying the news, we've decided.
Yeah.
But we do still love talking about all the stories in the galaxy far, far away. So we're just going to change our format to be a little more casual, a lot more casual. You'll have to sort of listen to see how we've changed it up a little bit. But we're excited about it. It's going to be super fun. And we're going to really get in the nitty gritty and try and capture some of the spirit of what happens off air when we're talking about Star Wars for an hour before this podcast and 2 hours after this podcast.
Guys, is Ahsoka the titular Jedi? Is she like the Jedi we're going to find out in the new series?
Yes.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Save it for the Cantina Chronicles.
Save it for that. However, this is still Core World News, so I've got a couple of quick news stories. Might as well go out on program here. So a couple things. Starting off, I was just looking at my million notes about Rebels. Acolyte will have more Jedi than we've ever seen in live action before in it. That was one of the announcements, which I thought was pretty...
That checks out.
Yeah.
Per the timeline.
I mean, I was thinking Sith, but like Jedi?
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right? Because there's not going to be... we're not going to get any Sith. Or we're going to get a Sith, right? Like we're going to get... Sith and a ton of acolytes. But that makes sense. We're High Republic. There's a ton of Jedi.
You're going to split hairs here with me? I mean, like, if you're an acolyte of the Sith, like, you're... I mean, I don't know.
I mean, we're about to watch a show with two people with red lightsabers, and they're going to be called Dark Jedis. Yes, we're splitting hairs now.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Exactly. That's what we do, I suppose.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how one becomes a Sith if they must know about the Force and the mysticism in the galaxy. Could they be a Jedi first and then become an acolyte? That seems like the path I would think that the story would take, but who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the way I guess it's going to go. We're going to maybe get a fallen Jedi in their travails, or we could get that sort of story from, oh my gosh, Fallen. It's the season 7 that never was. It got turned into a book with Quinlan Voss. And it is
like
Dark
Fate.
Disciple.
That's a Dark Disciple.
Yeah, I wonder if they do that where they're like, we're gonna send someone undercover to investigate, which I think would be less exciting. I think I'd be more excited about like an organic sort of path into the dark side and what the Sith are doing.
Hope so.
In that,
This is the 5th straight episode we brought up Dark Disciple.
Yeah. I know it's come up quite a bit.
Didn't have the name like any of the times.
How many Jedi were there at the Petronaki Arena in Geonosis?
Hundreds. A great question, but why do you ask?
I'm going to count. Well, because we're supposed to see more Jedi than we've ever seen on screen.
Right. Okay.
So now you've made a promise. I'll be counting.
What if it's like a cafeteria scene and some like Jedi just flips one of the Jedi's lunch tray?
Yep. It's just going to be one giant shot of a ton of people. Be like, yep, they're all Jedis. Moving on.
You saw it. You're welcome.
We did it.
Yep, that'd be good. I also saw a little tidbit that they've spent $50 million on pre-production of Acolyte alone.
Whoa.
Which is like, I think Mandalorian, they tried to give a Game of Thrones budget, which is about $10 million an episode. So if they're just spending
Yeah.
$50 on pre-prod, like I think they were really trying to up the stakes here.
Yeah.
This could be a sign of a lot of things, but that's encouraging.
I do wonder if there's a concerted effort to sort of like build out the architecture of the High Republic, given that we just got a temple in the Survivor, and
it's fascinating. I mean, we're going to talk about it when we talk about our Rebels rewatch, but like, it's fascinating how much of that stuff was kind of already built in without us knowing it. Like, there's a scene where they show old Jedi and they all have gold lightsabers. Yeah. So we'll talk more.
Oh, in Rebels, are you talking about?
Yeah. So a lot of that's there, and I think you're right. I think they're now trying to, like you said, Grant, build it out, right? Like, make it more of a thing. Yeah.
It's fascinating because I thought it was like just an allusion to like Arthurian sort of times and medieval times for the Jedi. It's sort of the crossguard saber, that whole idea. But it's evolved into a really specific thing at this point. Like, if you played Survivor and you've seen the robes and you've seen a lot of the new characters in the High Republic books, it's like it's a really ornate sort of like highfalutin aesthetic that is it's so fascinating. Like, they've really built that out. And then what we know about Star Wars is it's very lived in. And I guess, when you look at Doug Chiang's designs for the prequels, they do have that smooth sort of silky finish, but they're
right.
At the same time, it's starting to that lived in approach is beginning. The sort of like Ralph McQuarrie sort of like angular lived in thing is starting there. And so it's cool to see that the High Republic is more ornate and sort of sort of high sophisticated.
I don't know enough about design to sort of really give the right things, but I know that, like, obviously it's like very utilitarian in the original trilogy, and I love that. A lot of Greeblies, very square everything and all that. And then it's like kind of Art Deco, like maybe 20s, 30s sort of style for the prequels.
Right, prequels.
So it's like still pretty elegant, but then, they definitely have a very distinct, I'm going to try not to say the word vibe anymore because I'm just like could use it for everything, and I'm sure I'm not using it correctly anymore.
It's kind of a catch-all for all
things.
It
is for me.
It kind of means everything now, so
it is
fine.
great though.
But it's a very specific design aesthetic for a High Republic that's emerged, and it's like seamlessly. I'm catching up on Rebels right now. We're gonna eventually talk a lot about that because on
it almost
Cantina
feels like
Chronicles.
quarried stone with sort of like gold interlacing and gold emblems and sort of
a lot more gold aesthetic. And then if you play Jedi Survivor, you can really play around with that. You've got a lot of original trilogy options, you have prequel trilogy options, and then as someone who just came back from Batuu with his High Republic,
it's inlaid. I love the inlay. It's just
there's a filigree. It's kind of beautiful. We didn't mention it, so we are going to change our name is going to be Cantina Chronicles. We should probably say that a bunch of times. So we'll still be in
many
your
times
feed.
as possible.
You shouldn't have to change
you
anything.
Need to do nothing.
It's just we're going to switch over to a bunch of drunks at a bar talking about Star Wars. So we'll have a new logo.
Said drunks on the job.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll say episode 1 and you'll be like, what? But it'll be us. So please listen to all the stuff. So, anyways, back to the news. That was there. We also got a quote from Justin Simeon, who is the director of the upcoming Lando series. He has no idea what's going on with the Lando series, was the quote. So there's that. Right, that makes all of us, Justin. I kind of figured that's where it was at.
Yeah, based on the fact that he's been doing a lot of press for a lot of different things over the past 2 years and has never said a single word about it or mentioned it or even responded to questions. Like, it seems like he had a deal. They named him, and now we'll see. I mean, I hope it's still going forward. I like Justin Simeon quite a bit, so I hope it still happens. I don't know.
That Daniel Jose Elder book, Last Shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so good.
That would be almost like just like the sort of Lando movie I could really, be enticing for someone like me. I loved that storyline.
Yeah. Do you want me to be the bummer guy right now?
No.
So okay. Well, here I go anyway. You're welcome. It's been a couple of days, so I gotta bum some other people out. So I was gonna joke earlier when we talked about the pre-production costs of Acolyte. Like, no one tell Bob Iger.
Right.
Like, no one tell him. I mean, he's made it clear they're cutting back on Marvel and Star Wars. So if a show is not in production right now, It's gone. So like, there's no way Lando's happening at this point with Bob Iger right now. Like that, they're not putting more money into that stuff. Sorry.
I mean,
it's all.
I believe you, and I was thinking the same thing, but I'm not sure. Like we've heard that news about Bob Iger, but I just the hopeless optimist.
No, I mean he said it. Like that is a direct quote.
We'll see.
Oh, you mean in terms of him like actually naming Lando?
Like how that actually gets implemented. I mean
that's
it's
true.
Well, that's Bob hasn't seen the Ahsoka numbers yet, so we'll just
Everyone watch Ahsoka, please.
Yeah. I know. I said the same thing when people were like, "Oh, we're never going to get another like Solo-verse movie," and I was like, "No, it's going to be fine. They got tons of money. They're going to make money on these movies. They'll do it." And then that we haven't seen a sequel yet. Technically, but we did get Obi-Wan. I mean, what we got was better. We got a bunch of live action series, and I adore all of them, and they're just getting better. And they're spending this money. Andor was transformative. I mean, it was amazing. It's about to like sweep a bunch of awards, and
as it should.
It has a legit shot at winning best dramatic series
at
the Emmys, which is wild.
Obviously biased, but it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Never say
never. Everyone's sort of holding their breath to see what that actually means, and we have to get through the writer's strike, and we have to get through, the director's strike, and so there's a lot of moves there. But if they were just like started abandoning the two biggest IPs that draw the most people on Disney Plus, it's like, are you abandoning streaming?
It's just the thing is, but.
I wouldn't expect an abandonment. I just wouldn't expect the faucet's gonna.
Well, right now we have
halfway off.
Ahsoka, Acolyte, Mandalorian season 4, Andor season 2, Bad Batch season 3, all in the pipeline. That's 5 series in production.
Yeah, that's all happening. Yeah.
So it's like that's a lot. I mean, that's 2 solid years of content at least. And and so they've got time.
That's a really good point, because that will also get us to the next movie, and if that movie is a success, then watch those all feed each other.
Yeah, and I think they will be. I think they will be a success.
Yeah. And when it comes to Lando, it's like, what story are you going to tell that's not going to be a retread of A New Hope? Han Solo's in too deep, he owes Jabba money. Like, we've seen that story a million times. If that is the sort of smuggler. Heist almost storyline, and Solo obviously was that. It's that same sort of, and like whatever you do as a sportsman, I know he had that title for a long time. Again, that would end up in a place where he's maybe in too deep with mobster characters. For me, it's like I would love to see the start of the Baron administrator duties, like the beginning of bringing these people together, like the beginnings of Cloud City, or just his time there. Because to me, that's a side of Lando I don't think we really know.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating. It would be a different,
yeah.
That'd be a different vibe.
That would be good. I want to see him in like bar to bar on Wild Adventures.
Right, it could be the splendors of the galaxy is the other story. Which is like, how do you basically like emphasize that and really show off all the visual beauty of the galaxy? Because that's like the other side of the Lando story that I'd love to see. It's like his adventures being more beautiful than basically like Han and Chewie's adventures to like dingy corners of the galaxy. I bet Lando goes to far more vibrant and interesting places.
Agreed. And has more fun while there, right?
It has more fun.
And the thing about it is, I feel like in the original trilogy, all we hear about Han's close scrapes are exposition or like little lore drops, like, hey, that when we ran into that bounty hunter in Ord Mantell, right? Like one of my favorite lines in all of Star Wars. I'm like, wait, where's that? Tell me about that. Is what? And for a kid, I kept searching to see where that story was, because I'm like, it must be somewhere. But it's just like, I feel like, tell us those stories from Lando's perspective, not literally those stories, but in ideas of like, I want him getting into a scrape every week and getting out by the skin of his teeth, right? Like just trying to get ahead, and keep getting it, just surviving, right? Like that's kind of what I want, and maybe getting to.
I would love that. Yeah,
make it a big score thing, right? We haven't seen something like that really in Star Wars, in live action.
I'm also thinking, because there is documentation of Lando starting businesses. Like he can make money when he wants to. He's not just a gambler. He's like an expert businessman. Yeah. But like he does it through like some shady dealings. Yeah. Like The Wire's coming to mind. So he's not a drug dealer. Yeah. It's like, you know, like he gets the snuffle pig or the hapabore to like start mining something on Lothal in Rebels. And right. Like it starts with a small business, but it turns it's like maybe he's mid-business, but he makes some shady, you know, it could be like some sort of business thing with some shady deals, and he's sort of balancing that with traveling around the galaxy and securing whatever and spending beyond his means, and you know, like, you know, just some craziness. There's a lot of things you could do with that series.
Since it's our last episode, let's reflect on one of our earliest episodes. Before Solo came out, we did a deep dive on Lando, right? We read the book. We actually watched that episode of Rebels, I remember, and we did a couple other, read the Lando miniseries and stuff. And my like overly simplified explanation of like who Lando is in the character is the mirror opposite of Han. Han is a good guy trying to act bad, and Lando is a bad guy trying to act good. And that's an oversimplification because I don't think Lando's actually a bad guy, but I think part of it is like his you know, he listens to the devil on his shoulder a lot more than the angel. And so part of almost what I want to see is him he keeps doing these businesses. Like you say, he's really good at business. He gets it started, and then I feel like he gets bored. Yeah. And so he tries to like subconsciously complicate it for himself. So that's an interesting character to follow, is to watch him mess it up for himself, right? Just watch him screw it up. Yeah.
Well, Lando just has charisma that I feel like Han is always confrontational with everyone he meets. And I'm like, Lando is an old smoothie. He knows how to work it. And I think that's almost what you want to see. I didn't get enough of it in Solo, honestly. He's just kind of there to be schmoozed. And I was like, what about him schmooze? I bet he can get through. I bet he can talk anyone into anything, basically, and get it. Do it.
Yeah, the only one he really interacts with is Kira a little bit. And, you know, he uses his charisma to sort of open a few doors, but not a lot.
No. Yeah. He's not in that movie as much as you think he's in that movie when you rewatch it.
Yeah. It's pretty sparse. Okay, another one. So John Boyega is open to returning to Star Wars. This was the biggest one for me because I've been holding my breath.
Read between the line. He has inked a deal with Disney.
You think it might be like a surprise? They're waiting for the right moment to announce him being in the new Jedi Order film.
Yeah. I wonder if it was supposed to happen at Comic-Con, and now no one can promote anything right now. I wonder if they're just going to have to, you know, promote it some other time.
Maybe they're still negotiating the deal.
They probably are.
If a deal's in place, they will announce it, I think.
I mean, there's deals and then there's deals. Yeah. to quote Lando. But I mean, like, I feel like that clearly the lines of communication are probably open and moving forward, and everyone's playing nice, and still trying to figure out the.
I think centering a new trilogy on Finn is a brilliant idea. It pushes Rey and the mysticism all like kind of to the periphery, and especially if you're going to go in so deep with Mangold's film, it's like, push some of that to the side and do a Kyle Katarn, you know, by way of Finn, like kind of storyline where it's like Finn is basically checks in on the temple, is exploring the dark, you know, recesses of the galaxy. Like I'm in. Like, if the trailer is like just filled with mystery and intrigue, and like it's him adventuring, and it's like a more grizzled Finn, like I'm in.
Yeah, nice. Take all of my money. Yeah.
And I just watched They Clone Tyrone, and it's incredible. Like it's just with Barbie and Oppenheimer out there. It's of the trifecta of just great films that are out right now. So definitely check that one out.
Did Boyega direct that, act in it, produce it?
He's like the lead in it. Yeah.
Okay.
He's been promoting it heavy on the socials, and that's why I keep seeing it. I'm like, I gotta check it out. Yeah.
He's really good.
And then my wife just ran across it randomly. I always like when that stuff happens because she doesn't follow the Star Wars socials.
And it's got all the clone stuff with Finn at the center.
I know.
Story.
It's like, have you seen this movie? We need to watch this movie. This movie looks great. And I'm like, well, it's good. It's good that that's like crossing all of the levels. So I hope it does really well.
Yeah. That's pretty fantastic. There was also a little bit of controversy coming out of some quotes from Boyega. Absolutely unafraid of the mouse, Boyega decided to air his ranking order of this.
Wait, unafraid of the mouse or unafraid of like the film Twitter, and
all
the
large
above. Sort of critical consensus of Star Wars films and critics abroad. And
I'd say I'd say all the above. I mean, if I wanted to, make tens of millions of dollars from Disney, this would, talking about this stuff seems taboo, and I wouldn't do it. So I'd be like, well, that's I can take. I'm sure he gets a bunch of rabble from people online all the time, anyways. But yes, you're right, absolutely. You're going to get a lot of controversy. But he ranked his sequel preferences, and the first one was episode. He likes Force Awakens the best. His second favorite was The Rise of Skywalker, and his third favorite was The Last Jedi.
Yeah. By the way,
on what merits? Who asked this question, and on what merits? Are we talking about here? In terms of his experience, his subjective experience, or what he thought of the films?
You didn't want me to actually read the article, did you?
No. Can I make a point about an actor's favorite movie that they were in? So if you look at the screen time that he is in those three movies, it happens to be in that exact same order. Yeah. So it may be that he had more to do,
or self-centered.
No, I don't think it's shallow or self-centered. I think you, as an actor, you're more invested and connected to the film the more you're acting on it, the more you're doing your craft, right? So I totally get that. And we had an offline conversation, which we'll probably not air out here, but maybe at a future Cantina Chronicles when we've been properly lubricated at the bar about the screen time in episode 8 versus some of the other episodes based on who those characters are and who they represent. And it's really fascinating when you start looking at those numbers and interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
That's vague enough, right?
That sounds vague enough. It sounds
that
great.
means nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it's interesting. I think we have a new kind of refreshed point of view on all three films.
I think we have. I think we've brought it to the center.
Tackle each one in a new way because there's so much left on the table when we discuss these films, and a lot's just because it can turn to sort of a hot take face off that just sort of dissolves into madness, and it's like we'll do that on the new pod, and I feel like we'll be able to cover some new areas.
Also 300 episodes, so we know each other and we're comfortable talking to each other, and also not disagreeing or agreeing, or it's not a competition when we have these conversations.
And I don't want to deter anyone from disliking any of the films, because I think all three have great messages, and just each one has a really, really wonderful,
chock full of wonderful stuff message. And a lot of issues.
It's just when you care as much as we do, we got notes, as always. And so on that line, I mean, we're certainly not going to be talking about ourselves more. That's one thing that's like my pet peeve about podcasts that aren't hosted by stars or famous or professional comedians or something. But we are going to we will let a little bit more of our own personal feelings about Star Wars through the Star Wars lens come out. So with that in mind, we wanted to do a little segment here where we actually interviewed each other and talk to each other a little bit. So it's our chance to ask our compadres direct questions that we would like them to answer, knowing each other as well as we do, to maybe get some more info about the galaxy far, far away through our three respective lenses. Lensi. I'm not sure which the word is. I was thinking we'd go in alphabetical order by first name and start with Atum.
All right.
Grant, you down with that? Do you have a couple of questions?
Do
you want me to? I have a general question to start off, or if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means.
So intimidating.
Cool. All right, so Adam, I just want to know. This is a little general one. I'm going to ask both of you this, so get ready. What was your first Star Wars experience that made you fall in love with Star Wars, and what happened? So.
Oh, fascinating. So, it's so funny because it's actually I have written some questions. I have a very similar question I'll probably ask both of you. So we may get some redundancies. So I don't know. Star Wars is the thing that's always been in me. Does that make sense? I feel like I don't remember my first time seeing, but my first cognizant moment of Star Wars is kind of developmental for me, and I don't know why. And it revolves around, of all things, Return of the Jedi, even though it's like my least favorite of the original trilogy. It's the one I watched the most because as a kid of the 80s, it's like your perfect kid movie. And my memory is being at the mall, Cape Cod Mall, if anyone wants to take notes, in sometime in the early to mid 80s, and going Christmas shopping with my parents, or going shopping around Christmas time, and being at the Sears, which used to be the end of the mall. They've now extended the mall. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but all I know is I was old enough that my dad decided to just leave me in front of the televisions, the bank of televisions that used to show something, all showing Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And so that's the moment. And I mean, it's the 80s, so I don't know. Was I 3?
Right.
Who knows? Right? Like, who knows at that age what I was? But probably like 5 or 6 or 7. And I know I've seen them before then, but that was the big one. And I just remember the scene with Vader and Luke on the entryway of the AT-AT, and just showed me the lightsaber moment. And that was like,
so good.
I don't know why, but like that, like something about my father just like leaving me to watch something about a father and son. And it just was like imprinted in my brain. So that's my kind of first formative, most like the moment I realized that Star Wars was in me. Was at that moment.
One, man.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Grant, you got a question for Adam?
Okay, Adam. Let me think here. When you first watched Empire Strikes Back,
oh man,
and we spent as many minutes as we did with a certain puppet, did you see it as a puppet or did you see it as a character? And I'm speaking about Yoda.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because like I, again, as a child of the 80s, which get ready to hear that phrase apparently for the next 8 answers. So much of my life was surrounded by Jim Henson. Sure, right? Like so much of my life surrounded by like Sesame Street and the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth to a lesser extent. And so I think by the time I was really aware of Star Wars, like Muppets stopped being Muppets to me and started to be real things. Yeah. So no, even to this day, I'll be honest.
Not a puppet on the set.
I am aware that there's something up the backside of Yoda, and Frank Oz is somewhere, doing his Yoda voice. But no, it feels like a character. Like it really does feel like just another actor on set, which is like why you hear from like people who meet Muppets for the first time, this like transformative moment. Yeah. Where they like literally just talk to the Muppet, even in that scene where you can see that there's like an open floor beneath them. And I just know myself, like if that happened, if I met Yoda, I'd be talking directly to Yoda. There would be no thought of talking to the person behind them. I'd be thinking aware that this is
my mouth would be on the floor. As a person, I'd just be like, say more, Yoda.
Yeah, I know. Which, like, as a person who recently hugged Tigger at a theme park, and realized there's a human skeleton underneath, and it might have been the most frightening moment of my adult life, I still think I would be fine meeting Yoda and thinking this is actually a living thing.
Yeah, it's still confounding that happened,
wild.
And it was just so ambitious.
Yeah. You're a coward if you don't use the puppet.
Audacious.
Yeah, but it's great. Yeah, I something about Muppets that I always have the deniability. All right, I got another one for you, Adam. What is your favorite environment in which to consume a Star Wars? And you can consume the Star Wars. It can be any media.
Okay. Interesting. This is going to be real basic and boring.
It's a dumb question, so go for it.
No, it's not a dumb question at all. But I think, again, being imprinted with original trilogy and how much like it worked on me, it's always desert. Like desert to me, which is again, like that's what you're asking, right? Like of the environment.
Personally, where do you want to be when you watch a Star Wars or read a Star Wars?
I realized as I was answering that.
Yeah, I said it was a much dumber question.
Where do I most consume? No. Where do I prefer to consume Star Wars? Yeah, so that's really interesting. I mean, the most I've ever watched is on my couch.
What about watching
like,
dishes?
I'm
I feel like you consume a lot of Star Wars watching dishes.
I do. I will say, I mean, as a parent of a, relatively new human living being, I do a lot of my watching via dishes, but never, I will make it clear, never my initial viewing of a Star Wars. That is always locked in on the couch. Additional viewings will be on I cannot. That is sacrilege to watch it while doing the dishes. I watched highfalutin foreign films when I'm on doing the dishes, but never a Star Wars. But I think it's always going to be a theater for me. Like I think it's transformative. I think, just thinking about seeing the fact that like the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy or the prequel trilogy, like I've seen everything in person first week. It's got to be theaters for me, just that experience. And having recently started to go back to the theater a lot more, it's reawakening my love of just going to theater, see movies, and realizing that like that adds 2 points to any rating for my film is seeing it in the theater.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Got another one, Grant?
Yeah. Well, we've covered the pillars of Star Wars many times on this podcast. Adam, I think it's time. You tell us your favorite aspect or pillar of Star Wars, and I can list them. I can list the list right now if you need it. If you know it, then you can.
I know most of them. I'm trying to think if anything pops in my head or if I'm going to need like the refresher to really get there. So all of the pillars,
like swashbuckling, spirituality, mentors, good versus evil, nautical space combat.
Yeah. So in my head, I was like, for some reason, swashbuckling kept coming up, but that's not it. I don't know why it keeps coming up. I think I just like that word.
You invented that.
I think. Oh, that's why I like it. But I think at the end of the day, the one I was leaning towards as you were listing and before I was listening it's so basic again, but good versus evil, right? Like to me, that is the cornerstone of Star Wars. It's not necessarily as black as white as it sounds, but there is a clear, like, I come back to, I teach ethics and morals in my job quite a bit. And on my personal level, I often try to think about the teachings of the Force. I think it's very clear, and I think there is a clear moral goodness in what we learn through the Jedi. Everything can be corrupted, but I think it's very clear. I love that clearness, and I also love the fact that it's not like, I think my favorite thing about Star Wars is, of course, the dark side's easier. Right, like being evil is so much easier than being good. Yeah. Right, but so I just love that idea. So I think that I come back around to that a lot.
Really true.
Not economics and trade. I'm surprised.
I mean, as I get older, I am more and more enjoying the slower parts of Star Wars. So we'll circle back around 10 years.
Tell me more about trade route embargoes.
Taxation, blockades.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay. Yes. All right. I'm going to pump up the jam here a little bit. You have to build a new project centered around one actor not currently involved in a Star Wars. Who should it be? See, this is just the actor. Like, okay, you're going to build a movie, but maybe a franchise. Maybe it's 3 movies. I don't know, but it's like you got to hang your hat on one dude. Like Skeleton Crew is like, I don't know Jude Law, then we'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, it's
a tough one to pull off the top,
and I'm like, why can I only think of white dudes? This is bad. Like literally. So I know. I have been full disclosure watching Peaky Blinders, and so not Cillian Murphy, even though I love Cillian Murphy. He'd be too, well, maybe if you made him a Sith, like if you went the dark side, I think, am I talking myself into Cillian Murphy as the person I want to? No, he's too old. Too old
to start the training.
Too old to start the training. Cillian Murphy from like 20 years ago, 100%, but that's not how, time works. Oh man. Oh man, and we know how many passes, and then my brain's stuck on Tom Hardy.
I so want that.
I'll go based on your reactions and the fact that
it doesn't need to be your definitive answer. I'm putting you under the gun here, under the blaster.
No, I love being under the gun.
Those are 2 really good answers.
I love this. Yeah, again, cheating because I was joking about the fact that we just finished the first season of Peaky Blinders, and they named the 2 other crime families, and one of those named Solomon, and I'm like, well, Tom Hardy famously plays a Jew in that show, which he's gotten lambasted for. So I'm like, I looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm guessing we're gonna see the Solomons come in at some point. Like it seems like they're kind of like foreshadowing that. So I also know that he probably is going to show up in the Stephen Knight show movie Tom Hardy's 100% going to be that.
He would be the best villain for that new trilogy, for the Dawn of the Jedi.
He's going to be.
He'd be the best. Like Finn
Stephen
and Rey
Knight loves
fighting.
him. He's in Taboo. He's in something. He's 100%
You remember
going to show up
Desan from the old Jedi Outcast games? Kyle, remember that dinosaur-looking guy? Tom Hardy would be great as a dinosaur.
So
that's
amazing.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go back to Cillian Murphy, because Cillian Murphy does not get enough
work. Isn't it
Cillian
Murphy?
Even though he's an Oppenheimer right now.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
It is. I refuse. That is accurate. It is Cillian Murphy. I refuse.
We just refuse to acknowledge how people actually.
No. I just, for some reason, it's
so
one of those
you've
things
already
where
called him too old,
I remember
and now you're
buying.
gonna just intentionally mispronounce his name. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I'm giving him a Star Wars, so he should be grateful.
Call you whatever I want. I love Tom Hardy there, man, and honestly, like
Tom Hardy's great.
I think it'd be easy to cast him as a dark side. You could literally, or a dinosaur. Like he's so good, you can cast him as anything. That's why I think like a leading role would be kind of amazing. I mean, he'd be a great Han Solo.
Yeah,
right.
He would be, yeah. I mean, he was so close to being Bond, which I don't know if would have worked for him, but I think he I mean, again, I'm not trying to be like, this poor.
I think he needs to be a
this poor white guy hasn't had enough opportunities, but like,
I love that answer.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got, Grant?
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Favorite directed scene in Star Wars, and name that director.
Oh man. All right.
That's a hard one because you really got to kind of think about the acting and just how the scene plays out and the vision.
It's so hard.
Just a single scene.
It's really yeah. Okay.
Attack of the Clones.
And who is it, Adam? Who is it?
So, oh man, I love George Lucas. There's some great scenes in it.
Is it?
No, it's not. No, no. Lucas is wonderful. Lucas is amazing.
Right?
He's not an actor's director. I mean, you could go with like Kasdan, and I just it's hard to look at those original trilogies because they're very of their era, right? So like I love them, but like it is the acting is of its time. I cannot go with any of the prequels. Wow. Sorry. So that leaves two directors for me.
No, I mean you got.
And so here's the thing.
Wait, you've got Solo and you've got Rogue One.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about those. So cut those out as well. Right. Also wonderful films. I don't. So here's the thing.
Does it rhyme with Schmei and Schmonson?
Kirschner?
Yeah. No, it really does.
No.
I think, and we kind of. Yeah, we're circling back around to it.
You're like Kirshner, Lucas? You're like...
Yes, we're circling back around to it. It's going to dovetail into earlier talking about a certain puppet. I think the Yoda scene in The Last Jedi is the best directed scene of all of Star Wars.
Master Yoda.
Yeah. Yeah.
That line read? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm more focused on the
everything
puppet.
that happens
I'm
after
more
that
focused
is
on the puppet. But no, yeah. Sorry. So there you go.
That's great. I love that.
Grant has notes. That's so great.
I mean,
how Ben was
listen,
like...
I walked out of the theater after seeing Last Jedi, and I was like, is this better than Empire Strikes Back? Like, no joke. Literally, that was what I thought.
You did.
Yeah. I walked out going, I don't know how I feel about this film. I need to watch it 20 more times.
Yeah, I said I needed to rewatch it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it is slipping. The more I watch that movie, it slips further down on my ranking. It's still on the upper half, but it slips down a little bit. But that scene to me is always perfect.
It's impossible to put 11 films like in like, I don't know. And they're always going to be changing. It's a big body of work.
Yeah.
Okay. You were a Jedi Knight, Adam. What era, what color crystal, what job?
Oh, wow.
Era would probably be like between High Republic and Fall and the Twilight of the Jedi. Is that even a thing? But you know what I mean? Yeah, prequel era, Temple Guard, Yellow Crystal.
Oh,
I knew you already had one, so I gave you an easy one.
Super boring.
You're not leaving super boring, but you're hanging at the temple?
I'm hanging at the library. That's what I do. I'm at a temple. Probably at the Coruscant. Probably the Temple Guard, working for Jocasta Nu. That's my job.
But you get a yellow lightsaber. Maybe you get a cool mask.
Pretty savvy with that double blade.
Yeah, get a cool mask. It's all good. Yeah,
I love it.
You got another one, Grant?
Let's see here. Well, yeah. What is your favorite location in Star Wars? Not where you want to watch it in the films. When we go there, you feel nostalgic for it. It's your the design.
Yeah.
The environment.
So I kind of like. Well, like. Yeah. Look.
I guess that's also
because I'm like
feel, tone, and aesthetic of Star Wars. Kind of like, where do you think Star Wars best sort of sings?
I don't know. For me, I'll say, yeah. Could I get through an interview without mentioning Star Wars Galaxies, the old MMO?
It's been a couple episodes since you mentioned it.
It's been a couple episodes. So it's Mos Eisley. Like, Mos Eisley to me.
I was just watching New Hope the other night, and I was like, "Is this Star Wars? Is just Mos Eisley Star Wars?"
It's super basic, but like you get a feel for it. How it's a hive of scum and villainy. Like he says that and like shows and tells, right? Like it's kind of perfect. And I just spent so much time hanging out there during. Yeah, I spent so much time hanging out there in that game because that's the place I wanted to be, and I was just a Wookiee bounty hunter taking my Wookiee, taking my bounties from
such an iconic environment. That environment in particular is just super iconic. It's like 40 minutes into A New Hope. It's just like,
I know,
it's so cool.
Yeah, because you're really through the eyes of a couple of droids. You see a space battle. You see a weird farmer on a moisture thing, and then it's like, and then you answer the call, and like that's your shatter point. That's your launch pad into the rest of the galaxy, and you're like, oh, now I understand where I am.
Now, was the ships leaving? Is that in the original footage, or is that remastered? Like the ships leaving in that the establishing shot. You know what I'm talking about?
The Falcon.
No, when the establishing shot of Mos Eisley, when Obi-Wan's standing over the cliff, it's like you see the ships taking off, and I'm like, was that in the original?
I don't think so.
Because it looks so sleek. Like I wonder.
I don't think there was any movement.
Yeah,
because I remember it is just
static.
You can barely tell that it is like it is even.
Yeah, they probably had barely enough time to build that model, let alone do any sort
painted.
of. It might
that might have been even a map. It might have matte. It's probably a matte painting, a very basic whatever. And I was also great. Don't forget, Old Man Adam and Ben. We were watching that tube televisions with like, what was it, like 320?
Yeah, I was there.
Who knows what we're too. That's true. You got the tail end of that.
Yeah.
Why do the 1990s look like the 1970s or 80s or 60s? I mean, when you look at it now, I see pictures. I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah,
I watched a little film called Tiptoes the other day, and I was like, "Ooh, 90s."
Tiptoes right away.
That takeaway is the 90s.
Yeah. Definitely watch Tiptoes if you haven't, by the way. All right, and then this one. So my last one I knew was going to be quick because I already knew your answer to that one because we just hung out for a weekend. Making lightsabers.
Yeah.
But this one is a long one. All right, so using our pillars, you've already been thinking about pillars, thanks to Grant.
Mm-hmm.
Build me the ideal ensemble of character types. So I don't need to know like their whole life story, but just like what are the types of characters you want in your like ideal Star Wars ensemble?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. All right. So I'm a firm believer that you need
two droids. You're a 2-droid guy. Okay.
2 droids.
The hidden fortress tier. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and because they need to play off of each other and they need to be different. Like, again, I might just build you the original.
That's fine.
Cast. No, but mostly like you need. I'm gonna leave gender completely out of it, so we can cast gender later. So yeah, 2 droids. Yeah, oh god, I am just gonna build I am just gonna build a New Hope. Like you need the 2 droids. I feel like you need a Force user and an apprentice and a master. I will just say an apprentice and a master of any type.
All right.
Does that make sense? Meaning that they don't have to be Force users. Because like we got it in Solo a little bit. Like we got Tobias Beckett and Solo, right? Like to me that works. So you need, if we're going to take the Force out of it, because I do firmly believe you can make a really solid Star Wars movie without a Force user in your ensemble.
I thought Snoke was not going to be a Force user for the longest time.
So did I.
I thought that was
all
going to be the genius part of the story. It was like almost like a Lex Luthor.
I spent so much of Episode 8 in my brain in the theater the first time going, that's just magnets.
You're unrelenting, right?
And I'm like, no, he's not. He's clearly a Force user because of choices.
I'm over there thinking everything's Darth Vader's ghost. I'm like my Mephisto for that movie.
So you need 2 droids. You need 2 droids. You need a master and apprentice. I honestly think you can do it with 5 characters, maybe 6, and then you need a wild card of some kind. Because I'm trying to be like, I don't know how specific or vague you want me to be. 2 droids. All right, 2 droids. 2 droids, master and apprentice, wild card, and a sidekick. So I think you need like 6. And at least, in my opinion, at least 2 out of those 6 characters need to be aliens.
Okay. That's
just because that's not happening of yet. And as of now.
No, not really. Not quite, but that's my perfect. We talked about perfect, and I have yet to see my perfect. Like, I mean, again, I just want to say, like, if I was really going to say, like, just the New Hope, but we got to move beyond that. But that's kind of close to what I did, if you think about
it's
it.
Still
like,
general. There's a lot of room for moving sideways. And I think
Greedo is a super fun character.
Yeah.
And when you go back and watch that execution of that sort of alien character and just the sound design and his voice, it's so cool. Like it's great because it's basically a Western sort of stand-in moment, and it's like, but this time it's with an alien, and it feels so iconic. And I really do think that's what really made Star Wars, is the Greedo in the booth with Han, and like that alien and live action character, and for the first time just blending so well. It's incredible.
Grant, that's a really interesting point, because now I'm trying to it's so hard. And part of what I was talking about at the beginning, my first answer is I don't remember intaking Star Wars linearly, right? So it's hard for me sometimes to remember this happened, then this happened, then that happened. But you're right. That is the first. Is Greedo the first alien? Like the first real alien with lines that you're actually that you're actually interacting with, right?
Well, because Chewbacca has a spacecraft that might fit
Chewbacca. But you just see he growls for a second and walks away, right? But actual human alien, actual dialogue.
Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan, I think happens. I think that happens.
Is that before? Yeah. Okay. Then there you go. That's
strong key. Because that scene is so strong, because it's Han selling them on the Falcon, Imperial's checking out the bar, and then straight to the Greedo scene, and I'm like, that's just so much character development in such a short amount of time, and it's just. Fun.
It's hard not to argue back to when I said what's the best directed scene. It might be the bar, the cantina scene in Star Wars, right? It's A New Hope. It is just
whatever happened. On those days,
that was magic.
It's just hard for me because as a kid, I still remember the werewolf mask.
That's still in there. I still think that's the best.
Even as a kid, I'm
I think that's the best cantina stuff because of how willing they are to keep it dark. And really cast shadows
effects,
on
quick cuts.
Masks.
Everyone gets a second.
Yeah,
and release a book where every single character gets a story. I still love the Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina is one of the best books of all time.
Literally everyone has a story from that bar. That's wild.
I love your ensemble, Adam. I'm inspired.
Thank you. I am. It's a little whatever,
right.
But thanks.
Grant, you got a last one for Adam?
Let's look at my list here. Adam, if you could have one ship in the Star Wars galaxy, what would it be?
Way to end on just the super basic whatever. I guess
this is your ship to pilot. This isn't X-Wing or Starfighter. This is you can have anything you want.
I mean, I mean, having done it in real life, I gotta go Millennium Falcon, man. I wish I was more complex than that. I'm I want to be all classy and be I want a Y-wing, or I want I want the Millennium Falcon. I've always wanted the Millennium Falcon. If I win the lottery, I'm building myself a Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
I want a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Crewed by
Really?
droids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man,
I want the whole Star Destroyer.
I still.
I kind of want the Ebon
like,
Hawk or something.
The Ebon Hawk's great. Like, there's a lot of good stuff, but like, I don't know. Like, we went to Galaxy's Edge, and I know it's a real, not a great approximation, but when you having to sit down at the chess table and then go into the thing like that,
or the fire spray, the Boba ship, like that's.
There's a lot of weird things. Actually, mine would be the Sith Infiltrator, which is Maul's.
Oh, is that Maul's?
From, the prequels.
Yeah,
it's
that
nice.
thing's pretty sweet.
That thing is.
But
clean.
I want a ship because again, I mean, actually, you want to know what? Fine, you want my actual answer?
Your actual third answer
is actually the ship I built in or owned in Star Wars Galaxies that I made you all watch.
That's right.
Watch a walkthrough.
We did the walkthrough of
that.
I did a tour of it. But that's the reason why is like I actually want the Millennium Falcon because I love the idea of flying. But my favorite thing is like shoot this thing into space.
Yeah,
there's no one out there. I'm not near anyone, and I have my own hangout space with chess.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever wanted.
There you go. That was awesome, man. I feel like we all got to know Adam a little better there.
That was fun. Thank you.
Grant, would you like to go next? This is I don't have to be next. Do you want to answer some questions?
Sure.
All right, great. I'll fire the first question off of Grant. You should know this is coming. What was your first Star Wars experience that made you like Star Wars, and what happened?
Well, I watched Empire Strikes Back first, and it was the re-releases in the 90s, and it was on VHS, and I basically watched Empire and the Hoth sequence like over and over and over again. And just kept rewinding it to catch it all and understand the story. Because I felt like it was introducing so many things right away, especially firing the probe off just in media res. Like and then I watched all of it and I was obsessed. And then the prequels hit me at Star Wars really hit for me when I was like 10 or 11, and like I saw the Phantom Menace trailer and I was like,
let's go.
Or I was probably like 8 or 9 probably, and I was like, that was the perfect demo for that. So it was just like. That worked on me, and I wasn't old enough to really look at it with a sort of critical eye. I kind of just loved what George was dishing. Like I just adored it, and like Attack of the Clones was like built for kids. I feel like it was just like so much just high octane excitement and action for just the sake of it. Like the Jedi are just using a clone army for the sake of it because you don't even question it. You're like, of course they rally the clones and all the Jedi come. Like of course, and like. Yeah, it was perfect. And I was like, this is awesome. And I have yet to see sort of like the hero's journey accomplish what happens in Attack of the Clones in just putting that much on screen. I mean, like you have your Hunger Games and you have your Divergent movies and you have like your Maze Runners and you have these like modern sci-fi pieces, but it's like I've never just seen as much as there is in Attack of the Clones just unloaded on an audience in terms of like lore and world building. Like I was just and Doug Chang's just world design, and then getting into Macquarie, and I got obsessed with Macquarie for a very long time, and then obviously just books, and I just dived into the books and the games. I just love it all. So, yeah,
I'm really waiting for the cultural reevaluation of Attack of the Clones. The more I watch it, I'm like, this is unfiltered, pure George.
Yeah, I mean, no one pumps Attack of the Clones tires as hard as we do. But like you just gave the best like defense of Attack of the Clones I've ever heard.
You made me love it more.
You're exactly right. Like of course a kid
it's maximalist.
Would love
it's maximalist Star Wars.
It is. Yeah. And I to kind of bring it back to Ben, your statement of like when you watched The Last Jedi, right? When I remember seeing Attack of the Clones midnight at the Wellfleet Cinemas, which was like a 100-seater. And going there at midnight, my friend just like emailed or called me at like 11 o'clock saying, I have an extra ticket. Do you want to go see us? I had my 8 a.m. tickets already bought the next morning. I said, sure, let's do it. Drove up there, which is like 45 minutes away, sat there, and I was just like, this is the best Star Wars I have ever seen. And we walked out and it was like, that sucked. And I'm like, yeah, it really did. It was really bad. And I'm like, I love that movie. And I happily got up the next morning with 5 hours of sleep and watched Yoda flip around again.
It had one of the, for me at the time, it had one of the greatest endings, like most like rev your fist, just like amp up hype endings I've ever seen ever in a
it's
giant
really
franchise movie. And then I look back at it now and I'm like, oh, it's just a CG nightmare. But it's, but it's still just indelible. Just beautiful. And again, now I look at the consequences of what happened and the clones and all that transpired. And I look at it doesn't sit well as a narrative, but I just think it's so wonderfully visually ambitious and audacious, and there's just so much going on in that movie that it's a great time. And the prequels worked on me. I still, when I was a kid, I didn't understand the logic of not bringing Shmi to, like, not saving Shmi. I never understood why Qui-Gon didn't. Even as a kid, I was like, why not?
No.
Confused by that and like heartbroken. I was like, what? Like, you can't bring his mom?
Those are the rules, man. Those are the Jedi rules.
Dude.
No one brings their mom to the Jedi Academy.
I guess,
or just free his mom, I guess.
So here's like the one maybe like mind cheat you can do with that, which I've done, is that like he can't bring Shmi because you can't have attachments. But I think Qui-Gon's a good dude and hates slavery. And maybe his plan was like, once we figure this out, I'm going to go back secretly and free her.
You get that just sense in the film, I would say.
Right?
You can read that.
Right? Like
there's almost like a connection.
But unfortunately, he got stabbed with a double lightsaber.
He was going to go back. Yeah.
And then Obi-Wan just didn't care. I don't know. Anyway, Obi-Wan's flawed.
Obi-Wan wants to leave the kid in the dirt.
I mean, he's also my favorite Jedi.
In the Phantom Menace, where Obi-Wan's like, really? We're like picking up more
pathetic life form?
Another pathetic life form.
He just flicks him off the ship, and he's like, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah.
Good luck with Maul.
Yep.
Okay, Adam, do you have a question for Grant?
Sure, I do. I'm going to call an audible because my first question is very similar. So I'm going to shift to my second one. So as a writer, what is of all the films, the most significant line in all of Star Wars? One line.
Grant has 20 in his head right
Obi-Wan taught you well, young Skywalker, but you're not a Jedi yet. That line is like, still like to this day, it's just I always think about it. And I think that's the thing I love about Star Wars, is the saber fighting and the dialogue in the sword fight. And I just, that Vader stuff is just, and James Earl Jones is still like my favorite voice in Star Wars. And I love Frank Oz. Yeah. And I love everyone involved in Star Wars, but I don't know. There's the idea of Vader, the scuba mask, the breathing, the everything about like just being this, henchman for the Emperor and having this tragic past. I don't know. There's so much in that character that it's just all unpacking. Yeah. That character is just like, every time you see that character, you're just unpacking what it means. It's like a projection of your worst fears. It's like, I don't know. There's so much going on with that character, and I think it's just a brilliant design. So that line,
I love that answer. Yeah. I was so excited to ask that question because I knew I'd be so excited no matter what the answer. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that is the correct answer. Quick side note. Anyone remember what video game it was when you would die? I feel like that was the overlay. That was one of the overlays they would sometimes say.
Yeah, I think it might have been the one you sit in. Or it's the
right at the actual I think you're right. It was the one, because I remember playing at Dave and Buster's a lot, spending a lot of money. That's totally what it was. Thank you. All right, Ben, your question.
All right, Grant, you've been captured by a Sith Lord in the world between worlds. You can have anyone from any era come save you. Who would you like it to be?
I guess Rey, because I want to help with the new Jedi Order.
Ooh.
So
okay,
Rey.
All right, I like it.
All right, well, that's going to answer a later question.
Unexpected, but I like it. All right, quickly, come up with the second question. All right, so this one similar. We're talking about the World Beyond Worlds, a something created in the animated film. So my question is, what is your favorite non-live action Star Wars character? So cannot pick it from a movie or television series unless it's animated. It can be book.
I mean, it's hard not to pick Ronan from Visions, like just knee jerk, but
That's a good pick.
Me keep thinking for a second. I mean, that just stylistically is so cool. I think actually the David Harbour Jedi from Visions. I adore that character. I forget his name. I just
wait.
thought
Which
Beast
season?
Boys
Yeah.
Is that one?
season
Is
the
one, right?
David-
Yeah.
the Elder, I think it was
Oh,
called.
the Elder. That was David Harbour.
Yeah.
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 Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal character.
Nice.
But if it can it be from the books too? It isn't
Yeah.
have to be animated.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anything.
okay.
Yeah. It can be
the
books, comics,
Okay.
anything. Yeah.
Is it Gia?
Ty Yorick, I really like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big fan. It's so tough. Let me think here. It's tough. It's hard not to pick Elzar Mann, just given chapters I've read about that
nothing wrong with
character and
Elzar
just
Mann.
all that's explored in those books.
Yeah.
The image of
I'll say Elzar Mann. I think I'm a big fan of Elzar Mann.
him just floating in the ocean,
Good pick.
just getting
That
Mel.
just how he deals with every situation is cool.
Yeah.
It's or like it just feels so sensory. Like there's a lot of sensory kind of description that I love. So
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. You are Grant. You are a rebellion informant and need to create a legitimate business to traffic information out of. What is it and where? You got to build a business to traffic information somewhere in the galaxy. What kind of business is it, and where is it going to be?
I guess I would do like a game and hobby store and do like Dejaric. It would be like Luth and Rail's artifact shop, but it would be all the sort of Dejaric pieces and Sabak cards and just everything, every type of game you can buy, like Magic, you could like whatever in Galaxy Magic kits
Magic
are
the
out there.
Gathering.
Like, it would just have all this. I would be a magician, like instead of a shapeshifter chameleon. I would just kind of use my whatever tools. Gadgets are in there.
I love that. That's sort of poetic too, because it's sort of like, oh yeah, you want to go see the game master.
Gamesman.
Yeah.
Game master.
Oh, that's interesting, dude. I love that.
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting. Great answer.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, it's a low. I got to keep a low profile, and I got to keep a whisper network open in the back.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Like, what else you can do?
Yeah. Cool. Adam, you got one?
Love it. All right. So I have a question about collectibles, but I'm going to personalize it to each of you. So, Ben, you can start trying to anticipate and think ahead. Grant. So in terms of collectibles, I know you like it's similar to me. You collect a lot of things, but you also collect a lot of Black Series. Is there one Black Series that has not been created or character that you're not familiar with that you really want a figure of?
It's so good. Oh my goodness. Definitely is. Obviously it's Porter Engle, the Blade of Bardata. Like the fact that Black Series figure is the only like Jedi figure I would buy, probably like that in Ty Yorick if they ever put her out. But if they make more High Republic like white boxes or like gold trim, like if they did a white like Black Series sort of thing that's like the special High Republic packaging, that would be so cool. And they do a bunch of Jedi from that.
That would be really good.
That's
amazing. Maybe we get that after Phase 3. There is going to be an art of or a character book that's coming out. I saw for High Republic, and it's for all 3 phases.
Yeah, there's like an encyclopedia.
which would
be
so
handy.
But it's so nice to know. Yeah,
because they've done.
It's so nice to know that we're going to have a complete thing at some point, and then maybe they can start really categorizing, and we can see all these characters. It makes it so much easier to read, honestly.
As far as troopers go, I would love a trooper that's like a death trooper, or that like you can take the helmet off and see all the cybernetics that are kind of like infused with the human. Like I think that's missing from Star Wars, and I'd love to see more of that. Is those kind of like spec ops. I collect a lot of the like troopers mainly for the Macquarie sort of designs, because I love the designs that they pull with the
that'd be wild if their
masks.
faces like they don't have mouths, they just have like speakers like where their mouths are, like they're totally
we get a lot of imagery of that. I think in a few books, and even like the Alphabet Squadron books, we hear about like those prison camps where like there are these rehabilitated like cyborgs, basically like Imperial cyborgs and stuff. I was like,
well, we see like the decraniated people, right? And like, so here's the thing. Not to bash on the sequel trilogies, which we're not, but like one thing that is, I think, really, really missing is body.
There's not enough.
There's a lot of body horror in the
there's a
original
lot.
trilogy that we forget about. Luke losing his hand and that scene of like watching his cybernaut, his like fake hand getting like tested in Empire Strikes Back is to me is like scarring as a child. Still remembering seeing that and like seeing like his like it's like from the Terminator. It's the same scene from the Terminator, almost like watching his like hands and servos and like losing arms and losing hands and like stuff. So more body
the
horror.
Dianoga sequence is like kind of horrifying and like constricting tendrils around your limbs and Luke being drowned.
Yeah. Cool, man. That was a great one, Adam. All right. This is, I guess, going to be a quick one. Grant, if you could write/direct one of the upcoming 3 films, which one would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a little bit of a pretentious question to answer. Okay.
I mean, I'm asking you. You just got to answer it.
That's fine.
Yeah. You're not offering us up information. You've just been told this is the question you must answer.
Rules of
the 3 films. What's the other? What's the third film?
The Mandoverse film.
Mandoverse, Jedi, and
no way.
New Jedi Order.
That's like Dave Filoni's hallowed like territory. I cannot. I'd be comfortable doing the Dawn of the Jedi, like the future with Rey. I think we've pitched it like several times on here. The sort of like.
What you mean the New Jedi Order with Rey?
The sequel. Oh yeah. Sorry, the New Jedi Order with Rey. Yeah, I would love that because I think you can basically like salvage like all that people were critical about with the sequel trilogy. I think there's a way to sort of just completely reverse that tide and make something incredible with like a new story with Rey and Finn. I think there's something really fun. And you don't have to use those characters don't have to be at the center of that story either. They're just now, I would say they're now the generals of the last war, right? So you have to understand that territory. But what's Rey doing? Like, I think there's ways to introduce the dark side. Like, I have a way that in some of the role-playing, like a role-playing campaign I've written like that, I have a way a dark side can come back that's like compelling and organic. Like, and I feel like that's extremely hard to do. Like bringing the dark side back into play is extremely hard to do because I actually never understood the marketing initiative of like the sequel trilogy to be like, oh no, there's no Sith. And I was like, I thought that was just like a perplexing approach. I was like, this is bizarre that this is your approach. This is like insane that that's your approach. It didn't even make sense to me. It didn't like compute.
Technically, there was a Sith at
so
the
there's
very end.
no Sith, and everyone was so adamant about being like, oh no, I don't want any Sith, and like no Sith. Like there's no Sith in this. Like hey, Kylo's not a Sith. No, it's not a Sith. No one's a Sith. There's no Sith here. No one's a Sith. And I was like, okay, the films end with the Sith.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, still wild to me that we didn't get a Darth name for Kylo in episode 9.
That all of this hails from.
Yeah.
It's like, what
right,
is...
especially with Kylo's fascination with Darth Vader. It's like, wouldn't at some point he'd be like, especially since his mask was shattered and all that, be like, reform himself as like Darth Ren or like...
He would just name... He's so egotistical, he would name himself a Darth.
Yeah, right? Like, that makes a lot of sense.
Or Darth, the title of Darth is just non-existent in...
Or apparently be knighted as a Darth by Sidious or something.
If that was the second film, if the second film ended in a knighting of a Darth, I would be like, this is the greatest trilogy of all time.
Yeah. Or, I mean, it could have ended, even if like episode 9 opened with it. Yeah, like, because here's the thing.
Yeah, it's like an emperor, almost
Sidious,
like christening of an emperor or something.
I mean, let's be honest. In the prequel trilogy, Sidious was throwing out the Darth title. Like, he had no problem naming people Darth. Left and right. You're Darth.
Vader
You're
just
Darth.
You're
You're Darth.
Like, I now knight you Darth Vader 2. That could be Kylo's name.
Yeah. Vader. Darth Vaderist?
What's German for son instead of Vater?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Darth Hader.
Darth Hader.
Yeah. What's German for
Darth Emo?
What's it for nephew?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Darth Hader's in our Discord still. We can't get him out. I've tried kicking.
Oh, amazing. All right. Nice.
We're talking about. Sorry, I was like, oh, yeah. Anyways,
it would be Darth Neffy. Darth Neffy.
It doesn't
would
really
be
have the same.
Nepo baby.
It's German for nephew.
Yeah.
Nepo for nephew.
Live long enough to become the villain.
Darth Nepo.
Yeah. Darth Nepo. That's great.
God, that would be funny.
Okay.
Actually, that's for I'm
right,
going
now-
to come back to this. We need to come up with a Darth name for Kylo Ren.
Okay.
I think we tried that way back when, but I don't know what we came up with. So
Chronicles like running bit like at the end of every
Yeah. All right.
episode.
If Jason or Brian or if anyone listening has got a good Darth name for Kylo, please email us. Our email will be active for another 4 days, so hurry up.
Darth Severus.
yeah.
Or email us at cantinachronicles@gmail.com.
Yeah. All right, we're all having a good time. Now I'm going to bring it down with the Sophie's Choice round. So you have to remove one character from the main films, all 11, from Star Wars canon permanently. Which would it be and why?
All right, but do they have to have a speaking role? And like sometime I could just take like I could take like a very minor character out and be like,
I mean, if you want to just take the easy way out, my friend, you're welcome to take an easy way out. It's up to you.
Or you
could
can take
Poe Dameron out of the sequel films.
Poe Dameron.
You're taking out of it?
Out of the sequels.
Poe Dameron.
Yeah,
Dameron.
Just all of it's out.
Yeah.
Oh God. And in there is injected a ton of Finn and Rey development. Like it rivals the Kylo and Rey development.
Yeah.
That's
so I'll grant you could give him as the person who's making up this whole thing. I'll allow it that you can give him his original ending. That he's in it for like a little bit and then gets eaten by the sand and dies.
Yeah, I'll do the TFA original script or whatever that was. Yeah, I'll leave that script the
I'll let you do that. There you go. All right. I like it.
And there's some fine tuning after that. There's a lot of fine tuning after that. And Holdo still like is there and all that stuff. And you can do that a different way, I think. I mean, I don't want like the films kind of stay the way they are, or the second that I take the person out of.
It would change. I mean, we don't have 4 hours, so you don't necessarily have to trail it exactly. But like who would you do it and
That's
why?
a tough choice.
And if there's anything that pops in your head, it's real
Oscar
tough.
Isaac's just too incredible. I don't know if I could take Poe out.
It's not Oscar Isaac's
fault. Too many listeners just like cringed and basically.
It's not Oscar Isaac. Here's your thing. Take about his Poe.
Right. Even Oscar Isaac is shedding a tear right now. I feel terrible. This is awful.
But
no, the first movie, I get the TFA though. I get the whole like he's an ace in the first Force Awakens.
But hold on, Grant. There's a whole future of Star Wars that now he can act in, playing a different character.
He comes back in the movies as like a new alien character.
Yeah. He could be someone else.
Oh,
he's
an incredible actor.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I just think it was a misfire in terms of focus to have so much Poe. I was like, isn't he just the ace? Like, and then he was almost like he became a spice runner at some point. I was like, what? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We have to like always like tarnish the reputation of our heroes, muddy them up a little bit, be like, oh, he has a dangerous past. I was like,
yeah,
I don't care. Baby. It's just so little, so late. Like, I just don't care.
I know. Yeah.
Spice running's way more interesting when you're spice running. That is interesting.
Yeah.
You know what's not interesting?
Yeah. Not just by the way, this happened. It's too interesting to show you.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that. I don't care. I'm like, the Zori Bliss stuff was great, but I don't know, just not enough. It was so brief. Like, it's almost like I would have just injected more Finn, and like I would have injected more. Like, it just. I don't know. There's a whole other part of the sequels I think could have been highlighted if you just kind of let the Flyboy be the Flyboy in like the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I've got another one.
I'm dying to know what your answer for that. By the way, I'm dying to know. And if you guys are going to be as audacious,
I didn't give it any thought.
Yeah. I hope it's a big character.
There's so many of these. I'm glad I don't have to answer them.
I mean, you might. I have not necessarily created. Wait for it, Ben.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more for you. Okay, Grant. You have a new Star Wars film that you are pitching to Lucasfilm.
Another Star Wars.
Yeah.
Film. Okay.
But this is a new one. What genre will you reference to pitch the film? So it's like you got to pitch it. It's an elevator pitch, and so you're going to be like, it's going to be like, Akira Kurosawa in space. Obviously, you can't do that because it's been out 1,000 times.
I would do like a 2001 type, like Disney Plus series where it's like, I told you it's like the Imperial scouts that found Exegol, basically, like something where like they find the epicenter of the darkness, and as like a Disney Plus series or something like. And then it would be like a Lost in Space. It would be like a
you said
2001
2001
Space Odyssey,
Kubrick, yeah.
Interstellar. It would be like Interstellar. Yeah, it would be like it's a lot like Interstellar. Outbound Flight kind of feel, which I think Ahsoka might go for. Honestly, if we're going to the far reaches, there might be, there might be like the whole Jedi starfighter has to go into the little hyperspace ring and use it.
Will Ahsoka be Outbound Flight? Is that the answer?
It might be related to it. I have a theory now that it's going to be kind of a prequel to Heir of the Empire, the novel.
The Ahsoka series?
That might bleed into...
Yeah.
I mean, that might...
Yeah, so they might touch with some of that stuff.
That might bleed into Star Trek. Yeah. I don't know. But I think it just hasn't been... again, we're getting Skeleton Crew, which sounds like a ship, a vessel of some kind, like a crewed vessel. So that could be exactly what I'm talking about. So forget that. No, I would go back to the staple of sort of like, I would like to do more Kurosawa Star Wars that deals with like martial Jedi again, like Jedi who actually ignite their sabers and actually, are guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy by taking action and making the hard choice, and oftentimes, having to enforce the galactic laws and principles that are decent. You know what I mean? And so I would love to explore that. And I'd also love to, I'm trying to think, something more like, I'm trying to think a good betrayal film that I'd love. I'm trying to think, something like The Conversation or The French Connection, where it's just like, or Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy within the Jedi, almost like something wherein like there's one Jedi who's boring. A bad actor, and it's like, who is that bad actor? You know what I mean? Like that is so cool to me. Like, and that's again, I've pitched my script on this podcast many times, but it's like it's a lot about a sort of like one against the many, a sort of zealot. Idealist.
We haven't seen that, right? Like that is new for Star Wars. I'd love to see that.
Almost like bordering on like a fascistic Jedi, and sort of why are they that way? Maybe they are. Maybe they've been fighting the darkness for so long that it's sort of contorted them, and you know what I mean. Like, and I
seeped into them,
them in a way, and sort of like, but and then their mission is just all the more sort of like, I would say, dogmatic. It's like they're only focused on that singular goal. Yeah. Like I would love to see a Jedi that's sort of been a nice fall story that we haven't really gotten before. I would love it. Again, that's almost like that's almost like a martial arts epic too, though. That's almost like Crouching Tiger, where it's like one character. There's almost like a descent, and there's even like a character from the past that has sort of also fallen, and like I like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Awesome. You got one more for him, Adam?
Yes. Okay. So similar. Making hard choices here. You have to recast one of the main actors in any of the Star Wars movies. Who do you recast?
This. I've always wanted to do a Star Wars recast podcast, and I've always wanted to do a Star Wars language of Star Wars podcast. Who do I recast? Let me think here. Who would be a great fit in Star Wars? And I can do any of the films at any time period.
Yeah, okay. Any of the films at any time period.
This is a little tough because there's so many fun actors you could throw in there. Choose from. But everyone's so good in Star Wars. Like, what do you do?
I know. This is why it's considered the Sophie Choice round. No shade on who you recast, right? No shade.
Yeah, this is tough because no judgment here. This is a really hard question because I'm basically taking away another. I'm destroying another actor's career here. This is awful. I feel terrible.
Yeah, it's all theoretical. It might be more about. Think of it this way: it's more about who you'd like to see their version of that character which has nothing to say about the version of the character that was presented on film. That you'd be fascinated to see what they would do with that role. Think of it that way.
Yeah, I would. This is really hard. I mean, this is very, very difficult.
Sorry.
I wouldn't mind seeing. I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Smith as Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, and sort of taking out Ian McDermott, and sort of just for the sequels.
There you go.
I'll allow
I'm
it.
sticking with the Matt Smith rumors. The idea of a young Palpatine, maybe like that would have been so cool to me. I was like, oh, what a different, what a nice juxtaposition. It's like it's not the old Emperor anymore. He's found the wellspring of rejuvenation, like whatever this immortality he's chasing. Like, more built into the lore that George is establishing.
If you've ever seen Matt Smith in The Crown,
he's an ace.
like that's that's who we should have gotten for Palpatine.
No, but I've seen him in House of the Dragon, and I'm like, this is great. This is he's
great
just
in that
so.
and everything he's done has been amazing.
So good in that. I mean, he's also good if you like. I watch all the Doctor Who's, and he is the most like not unhinged, but the of the Doctors, you're just like, is he just gonna let everyone die? And maybe he will. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just seems the most possibly malicious.
Yeah.
That was a tough question. It's tough.
You're welcome.
Because like, what do you do? I do know about casting rumors and who's been, but like, I would never put Kurt Russell in for Harrison Ford. Like, Harrison Ford is incredible. Like, I would never touch that.
Right.
Like, what do you?
But no, it's hard. It's so hard, especially with the original cast.
Well, it is crazy if you could put like modern people back. If you could that
which I would allow it, because why not? I'm not. We could break the timeline. Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, by the way, that's all we're entering into anyway in the future. Is AI will just allow us to make any movie we want with any person in it. So enjoy that. Be like, hey, make me Star Wars with Kurt Russell, and then they'll do it, and then that's the end of everything.
I feel good.
All right, I think Ben.
Who? Anyone have any questions for me?
I think it's Yeah, do you want? I'll start, Grant, if you're right, because I'm just gonna turn the first question around on Ben, basically, because I had it as well. But basically, I'm not gonna put it as eloquently as you, but kind of like your first, seminal memory of watching Star Wars and when it kind of first ingrained.
I feel like I've told this story before, but my cousin is I have 3 female cousins that grew up like 2 houses down from me. And one was the middle one was about 10 years older than me. She babysat me a lot, Ellen. And she just like had no fear and was like, I'm going to throw a New Hope on for you. And I remember I was on the like carpet. I was 4. And I just remember the, X-Wings and TIE fighters, and was just like, and I was like 3 feet from the TV screen, the cathode ray tube screen. And was just like, I was just like, put it in my veins. Like, this is my whole deal now. And
I think I just keep seeing Luke on the board, the diving board. Do you guys?
Yeah.
Does that? Do you like? Does that image stick in your mind when you were sitting in front of the TV, Ben?
I mean, that was at that point, Return hadn't come out yet. But I did see Return. So I saw Return of the Jedi in the theater at like. So I was.
I'm so jealous.
I mean, that was 82, right? So I was 4 then. So I might have been 3 watching A New Hope on the carpet, and so it was like obviously too young to really get the whole thing, but that like made it better because each year that I got older and watched it, I got more things, and I got more things, and I got more things.
Cool.
And it just was like part of the fabric of my childhood, and just was like a and I didn't watch it like too many times, and then I remember some kids I played with, they had like some weird technology, and they were able to do a supercut of all the starfighter scenes and put like Welcome to the Danger Zone, like made a music video out of it, and I was like, this is wild.
Wow.
I don't know, things were in the 80s so it was crazy. So but I definitely remember, I mean, I still have very distinct memories of standing in line for Return of the Jedi, and then watching it with my dad there.
That's amazing.
And watching it there. So, but again, I was 4 for Return, so I must have been 3, I guess, like watching A New Hope.
Yeah. Well, As I'll tell you this proud papa story for a second, because I have a 3-year-old of my own, and we've been doing potty training, so it's a lot of like trying to distract. So we did a lot more screen time than we normally did this weekend, and she wanted to watch Star Wars, so I started to get the Young Jedi Adventures series up to be like, let's watch that. And I started to play it, and she goes, "No, I want the one with the big people."
Yeah.
So she wanted to watch A New Hope. So that child has only been live action, has only been fed A New Hope with some editing, but not a ton. So we watched about like 15 minutes of Tatooine. we watched Uncle Owen buy droids, and she was
fascinated.
She was riveted.
There's something. I mean, it's just like,
so, like
there's something about it, right? Yeah. It's just like crack for kids.
When you see Peter Cushing in front of Vader, like what?
Yeah.
Like that's what's happening on the TV.
I know. I watched A New Hope like 2 weeks ago, and I still found like 5 more things that I hadn't noticed. Like in the 1,000 times I've watched that movie.
It's wild. Yeah. No.
Did you ever watch The Last Jedi after watching A New Hope, and you see how like polished everything is? But in A New Hope, everything is so smudged with fingerprints.
Dirty.
Like C-3PO is just covered in fingerprints. And so is Vader. They're just covered in smudges. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is incredible. Like this is I can't believe we let this like fly, and like now it's just so, slick.
Well, some of that information came out. I mean, he had a really tough time in Pinewood and was like, barely escaped Pinewood by the skin of his teeth getting all those shots done. And so it was like, I'm sure he like got real slapdash out there trying to get people to buy in.
Oh yeah.
Like just
so much money.
Shoot.
So much
just
time.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it done.
I know the James Mangold film better be real grimy.
Really? That's the approach?
That's what I want. Grimy.
When we go back to like Knights of the Republic, it's like almost more futuristic. Like Sith troopers are looking pretty Tron-esque.
I can do that too. But this is like original. They're discovering what the Force is, so I feel like they're fairly
I kind of like the simplicity of like
developed.
the Rakata Prime.
Yeah.
Remember that planet, Rakata Prime, and like how I don't know, it's just the architecture was kind of simple.
Oh yeah.
Like that stuff.
Yeah. I could dig on that.
Rakata Prime. Let's see that in the Dawn of the Jedi films.
No, I want Italian food.
Yeah.
You got a question for Ben?
If you could have one prop, one authentic
prop, man,
from all films, what would it be?
So I've started collecting
models of ships too. Anything you want. Anything. A model, like the original model. Like anything.
The OG model. Those models are so amazing.
They're probably like hundreds of thousands. No.
You know what? I'm just gonna. I just couldn't. As much as like I'd love a Super Star Destroyer in like my living room, or like right behind me right now forever. I think I want a red Imperial Guard helmet. That's what I want.
You're sleek thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I almost got offended. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
Wait, what did you think I was saying?
I thought you meant like
no, Praetorian. No,
he thought you were saying
Praetorian. The Praetorians.
No.
Wait, are we talking Mando Praetorians?
No.
Red Imperial Guard.
Red Imperial Guard, like the original ones.
Really?
I don't know why. There's something bewitching about those helmets to me.
I'm with Ben on this one. I don't know if it's about like when we experienced it, but I still remember like watching Return of the Jedi, just seeing those and be like, what are those?
That's one of the many helmets I do not have in terms of my collection
that's the white whale, I think. Like as far as like helmets go, and they even talked about it in Bloodlines. It was like a meta thing. It was like I think he gets one
right
in the beginning.
Don't worry, Dark Horse comics in the '90s were all about the Imperial Guard for a while.
They're they're so cool, and they only really use them in like modern canon. It was in Bloodlines, and then they played a big role in something Lords of the Sith, the second book that came out in New Canon. And Vader and Palpatine were flanked by
such a weird book.
Anyways, that's because it's like I would say like a Graflex, like the OG Saber, but you can just buy those. Like you got $500, you can get like an exact reproduction of that.
But the helmet,
like you can't get the helmet.
No, it's so good.
Good prop. Wow, I didn't think that for you. I thought DL44. I was like DL44. DL44 is this.
I love that. I love that choice.
Harrison Ford.
The
Imperial
Guard
DL44.
That's a pretty good one, man. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I just thought that I just pegged you as that. That's interesting. Or I guess the Skywalker saber too. I mean, that's
the OG Graphlike saber is amazing.
OG.
But I mean, I've got one behind me right now, and it still
true.
gives me
It's pretty much what it is.
It still gives me the chills just like holding it. I'm like, this is so cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and
it's amazing. It's fine. So good.
How about that?
Yeah. All right. That still works. All right. So I have a couple of two questions that will kind of be similar or related, but related to your professional and personal interests. So as a person who loves audio, what is your like favorite sound in Star Wars?
Man, the first thing that pops into my head are the roar of the twin ion engines in a TIE fighter.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Scream is just
so
pure. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like nothing else.
Yeah, it's like so good because like even in like it's instant like visceral reaction to it, and we've been getting it a lot.
Yeah,
in like the live action series, we got it in Mandalorian. So like in Atmo, you know, they had that like reverse thing with Migs Mayfield. And like the ties are saving you, and you're like, like you hear the roar of the engines, and you're like, they're gonna save us. And then and then in Andor when they're like off in the distance, and you're just like, oh, I know that sound, and I don't know, I
just doing a flyby, it was so effective. I was like, wow.
I adore all the sound. Ben Burtt will always be the top of the mountain as far as like sound designers go, because it's layers and layers, and it's so. I mean, nothing was off the table. Like even today, like it was like I was listening to Rebels, and like there was a growl from a Loth Wolf, and I was just like, oh man, they did like this weird thing with bubbles and like water under the growl to make the growl more like visceral, and like it. I was like, oh, I mean, it's Ben Burtt started a legacy of amazing sound design that proliferates all of like sound. Everywhere. But yeah, I mean, obviously, just like the lightsaber sound effect is like really has to be the best one. But like, I don't know. I can't pick the best one. Right? Yeah.
Go with your first gut. Like, it's impossible.
This podcast ends with like the last sound you'll hear from. Actually, this will be the last time, episode 300. It'll be the roar of actually Darth Vader's tie flipping off into space. Remember, the Force will be with you always. Then it's like, like.
I love that. Yeah. That speeder bike from Return of the Jedi was pretty effective on me. Like
that's a good one.
That really hit for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's like,
it's so good.
And then like the like
when it like
the
echoes,
trees.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Like, and it happens in Attack of the Clones too. Attack of the Clones, I think, uses the same sample.
It does, but I think those are Grant, like that idea. I never really thought about that before, but like. That scene, when you kind of rewatch the Endor scene, you could see the green screen, or you can kind of see it kind of whatever. But the sound design, it makes it feel like so fast and so scary and dangerous. Like it's just, I'm not saying anything new, but the sheer luck that you got like John Williams, Ben Burtt, and George Lucas all together, like it's like, how does that happen? Like that's
amazing elements so quickly.
If you missed one of those three things, Star Wars would be
all the things we're talking about, I think, are established in A New Hope. You know what I mean? Like a lot of what we're talking about, like these crazy sounds, like a TIE fighter, like all that stuff's in A New Hope. Amazing. Yeah.
Cool. What do you got for me, Grant?
Okay. You are conscripted into the Empire. What armor would you like? What trooper guard would you sign up for?
I mean, what I sign up for, or what am I shooting towards?
I guess location.
Okay, all right. So like what thing?
Where you want to be stationed. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Shore trooper. Just put me there on the beach in my my loose khakis, my sweet helmet.
Okay.
And my things.
Yeah.
And,
that's not bad.
And my shore leave, I'm gonna be just getting sun and Jupa slingers and just like I mean the shore trooper armor is pretty amazing.
It's pretty great. And it's like, tropical, so you kind of feel like you're on vacation. How often do you think that's going to be, apart from like once in a while?
Like the Death Star is definitely not going to shoot our planet anytime
I know,
soon.
that'd be ridiculous.
No, right?
Yeah, I'm safe here.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I mean, yeah, there's other places you can wear the shore trooper armor. But yeah, I mean, if you're on Scarif.
You wouldn't want to be one of the many like scout trooper, like immortal scout troopers in Jedi Survivor.
Rick the technician.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a great answer.
That's a pretty solid
Shore troopers just Star Wars.
Yeah, I think like Rogue One spent the appropriate amount of time designing new things to enter into canon. The U-wing is amazing,
visually distinct. Yeah,
the tank troopers are amazing. The and then the shore troopers and
right. Shore troopers, death troopers too, right? That was the first. Death Troopers, as we talked about earlier, like it's just that movie is kind of amazing, fits in the timeline.
Before that movie,
I
think like Scout Troopers were the ones. Also, I mean, again, another one of that I've mentioned a bunch is the TIE fighter pilot outfits from the sequel trilogy are next level. You don't see them much, but I saw them at a costume exhibition, and in person they'll just melt your face. They're so cool.
Yeah, I do like those costumes.
Yeah, but the thing is, I would never want to pilot a TIE ever. It's like you have
it's like instant
death. You have no shields, no hyperdrive, and no peripheral vision.
Shields.
It's like no, I'm not.
Yeah.
No.
They in a lot of the games, like in I can't remember what that game that came out for PS4 is called. Squadrons. Thank you. Yeah, but also in the earlier versions of that, like the TIE Fighter Advanced and all the other stuff, for like the computers, like. Every time I have a TIE Fighter mission, I'm like, oh man, like you can't see anything. You're gonna die immediately. You're fast,
you're
which
not
is
that
great,
fast.
but you're just like no shields, no nothing, no.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Instant death, like you said.
Yeah, that's an atrocity.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, what you got?
All right. So we talked about sound before. You're also a musician. Talked quite a bit. We've done our own musical episodes before. What if you could pick a single scene in Star Wars to score yourself? What scene would it be and why?
That's a great question.
Any way you want to answer this, what would you do with it? But what are you thinking?
Really
what
good
scene?
question. And of course, it's like become cliche to just like heap honors and kindness on John Williams, but like it's all true, all of it. Like he's an amazing human being, and his like mark on film, especially Star Wars, is. I mean, it's as the music is, I would say, 50% of the films, at least for me. And then everything else on top of it, acting, all that, like it's you just can't do it. So the hubris involved with sort of like rewriting a scene, but as far as like, all right, a scene that I love so much that I'd love to compose to it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Not that you think you can do better, but that you just would love to just blanks and giggles.
I would say, and again, like Nick, what's his name? I would say Nick Natali, but that's a guy I work with. Who's the guy that does the score for Andor?
I can think of his name.
Nick Britell.
No,
Andor.
Nick Britell. Yeah.
And
I mean, and I know like Britell gets a credit, but I know that what's his name? The writer also is a musician and scores films as well. But I would probably want it to be. I'd want it to be. Oh, okay. No, I got it. I would like to do the music for the ship on the party barge on Solo. So it's what's his
nice.
name?
Yeah.
Like
So
that music, I was like, that's a choice. And I love it.
That's a choice.
It's like weird lounge music.
Hold my fuzzy tongue.
Yeah, I have a solo electronic music project called River Ghost. It's spelled in a way that you'll never find it, but it is on.
It's worth searching out. Try to find it. It's great.
VERGHXST. Good luck. But it's on there. But I think I've always sort of. I'm always telling myself my next album's just going to be like music that you could like instantly drop into Star Wars. Like I never want to sort of know what the instruments are. It's going to be all like sort of party and fun and all that. So that's the kind of music I like to make. I love it. And that's what I'd want to do. So like a party scene, in what's his name? What's the character's name in
Dryden
Voss. So Dryden Voss is a yacht pleasure yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love about this exercise, because I never would have thought that. But the second you guys, I'm like, that is the perfect answer. Like that is so you, and you would totally do an awesome job. And I know you don't want me to say this, but yes, it would be better than what was in that film.
It's a choice. It's just like it's a duet between like a brain and in like a fishbowl.
I mean, I love the visual.
And some woman. Yeah.
The visual's great, but yeah. Maybe they took the visual a little too literally.
Dude, I think that was tone perfect. You know, like that's what I want to see. Honestly, okay. This is, you know, my least favorite John Williams stuff is the Cantina theme. Sorry, I know it's iconic and it's great and it worked in the Cantina. But then George took it too literally and I think asked for it, and then the Return of the Jedi remaster blues song, I don't want it to sound like it was pulled
Jedi Rocks.
You know,
it is.
That's I feel like I want the music to emulate a foreign world, you know. And I mean, Cantina theme obviously iconic and it's perfect, but it's like you get one, and that was it. And it was
and that's close enough that you can kind of say it's in the universe. But man, that Jedi Rocks that's a tough pill
because it's
to
just
swallow.
like it doesn't sound like synthetic instruments or distant instruments
at all.
But I think you could say the Cantina theme does. They do enough little things where it doesn't just sound like a clarinet jazz band sort of thing.
No, they're clearly jizz wailing.
I just every time you say the word jizz wailing, I puke in my mouth a little bit.
That's why I say it, because I'll never not say it.
Oh God.
In my deathbed, that'll be the only thing left rattling around in my head. That'll be my final words. Will be jizz wailing. I feel like I can't believe what he said. I can't write that down.
Here lies Adam. He was always jizz wailing.
Yeah, not me, Ben. I mean Grant. I mean, what am I saying? Anyway, it was not me. George created it.
All right, I got one for you here.
Let's go. I love these questions. You guys are great.
Okay. Back onto music, because I just want to stick with Adam's theme here. Right. Now that you've answered these two questions so eloquently. You are put in charge of composing the music for either of the new films that have been announced for Lucasfilm, Dawn of the Jedi or New Jedi Order. John Williams has passed on doing the music for the films. What direction would you take the music, and which film would you want to score?
I think my knee-jerk reaction is because I've never thought of this, but this is so fun. I would say Dawn of the Jedi, and it would be really slow, like Godspeed You Black Emperor, like tone, like atmospheric, really slow, down tempo, sparse, not atmospheric, but just like tones, you know, like in the theme song for the Joker in Dark Knight is really like one note. I mean, it extends, but it's just like what, like it'd be that. It'd be like you get a layered note, and that would be like, it would just be so sparse and but like very moody, but like very sparse and very.
So far more experimental than we've ever experienced.
Yeah, dude, I love experimenting. Period. You know, I love pushing music to places where, you know, a word that I haven't heard before. It's just so exciting to me. And sometimes that means stripping everything away. It's just like.
So what you're saying is super compelling to me. And it just instantly sort of gave me these imaginings of maybe what that might sound like. And I got to say, I would love something that does start abstract, but it finds the Force theme. Like, you know what I mean? Like, eventually get there. Like, and it's about basically the Force coming together, right? So it's just those disparate notes for a while.
Right. I mean, for a movie, but it's
you're right. End of that all first film was like
throughout the movie, right? And then it ends the Force, it all culminating together as the Force theme. There we go. We just wrote it. Like, just give us this movie.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Kevin Kiner really did an interesting job. Again, I'm in like the throes of Rebels right now.
Yeah. We all are. I'm just now getting back in. Adam's well steeped, and Ben is just.
Ben's almost done. Yeah. I'm exactly at the midpoint.
I'm gonna jump off this and finish the last episode, but I mean, and it's good to listen to it because he did a perfect job because they were sort of like it was like, but he had the burden of sort of going first. And then Goranson is like, I can do whatever I want, and like did a brand new thing. It kind of sort of like he made it like John Williams light. So it uses a lot of the same themes, but really, I mean,
loosely,
very loosely. It's just like instead of doing a 5-note thing, he did a 3-note thing, and like it sounds like it's reminiscent of John Williams, but it's not pulled from John Williams. It's been re-recorded and re-performed, and it's done in a little faster way, probably to fit a 30-minute episode. They're all 22-minute episode cartoon. So he stylized John Williams's themes, and I mean the artistry and technical, like to do that, I have no idea how you do. Like I'm not saying I could do it at all, but it wasn't as compelling to me, but he did a great job with that. And like when it comes time for Binary Sunset, it hits like a hammer. And when it comes time for Imperial March, it's like a hammer. And they he elucidates all the feels of the original score in the right places to do the right things. But he does them in this, it's like a very wrote music in a cartoony way, which is interesting thing. But yes, so it's like that would be the challenge, right? Like how to not copy John Williams, but like get the feel. I mean, Nick Britell, like perfect. Like it's, I don't know. A lot of them.
Nick Britell seems like that fun new direction. Mando did it too to an extent, but I think
in a very different way.
I think especially in season 1 and 2, Mando in particular, was doing that. But still, no, I love that. I was thinking about I've been rewatching Rebels, and I've been noticing the music as well because it's actually been standing out more than it did the first time I watched it. And I think it might have been how I was watching the first time. I'm like, oh, he's actually doing more than I gave him credit for when I first watched it, and he's actually being very restrained, more restrained than I thought he was when I first watched it. Like he's not just doing, it's not always the same theme over and over again. It's only when it's appropriate in the episode, which I appreciate.
Composition in there that's doing very cool things. A lot of the time, but it does feel like it takes a back seat. I don't know. I mean, so this is the third time I've watched Rebels all the way through, and it's still sort of like the story and the action is so compelling. It's so fast. There's not a lot of meat on that bird. Like going back through it, it's like 75 episodes through 4 seasons, and I'm jumping ahead here, but it's a lot of serious, important action. They're on like essentially like a central set piece that would be a central set piece in Andor every episode. Just like bang, bang, bang. There's like not a lot of filler episodes. Even the ones that are filler episodes end up having huge ramifications for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I was literally thinking like if I want to come up with some episodes for Carly to watch as a primer for Ahsoka, I found it really difficult because I'm like, he gets his lightsaber in this episode. Oh, and he learns this in episode. Like even like you're right. Like every episode, there's some takeaway that is a character moment. It's really impressive. We'll talk more about it when we do our discussion of it. But like, I can't believe either that so the end of season 2 is the Vader Ahsoka confrontation, and I'm like, wait. There's still like that happens already. Like for some reason in my mind that was the end of season 3, and there's only one more season. So I'm like, oh, there's still like that's the halfway point of this entire series.
Yeah. It's so fast.
It moves so fast.
All right,
that music's incredible in there.
Yeah. It's great. He does a great job. We've been blessed, but I do love the sort of original takes and Britell. It's like, and why can't I think of the writer's name? Please say it before I die. The Andor.
Tony
Gilroy. Yeah, I think he has a lot. I mean, he cares about music, so he cares about the direction.
Oh yeah.
But I think that score.
He's in a band, I think.
Yeah, I think that score does all the things for Andor that anything John Williams has done for any of the other films. Like it's the air you breathe in that, like in the mood.
It really started the modern sort of like almost like postmodern.
Yeah.
approach to Star Wars music, and like I really love that. Like I almost like as much as Ludwig's score for Mando feels like a modernization, and definitely is, given that it's like it's using like hip hop, trap snares, and it's got
synthesizers,
instruments from all around the world, Moog synthesizer. It sounds incredible, but it almost has like the Western motifs happening within the music, and it's like Andor truly sounds like almost like breeding this new lifestyle of the galaxy. Basically, it's almost like a lifestyle sound.
Yeah, it's so moody and so beautiful, and it's gorgeous. So. Cool. Anyone have anything else? I've lost track of what the numbers are.
I got a couple left, I think. So 2 questions. Kind of now we're moving on to kind of a bit of production and storytelling. So I always think back to when Lucas is like, I wrote 100 episodes of Star Wars Underworld.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Remember that? So let's say, theoretically, you were given 100 episode order of television. Don't worry, this isn't going to be as complex as it sounds like it's starting out. But you have to write, basically, you have to spend 100 episodes in an era of Star Wars. Which era do you think you'd want to spend that much time in, and why? Of like the new main eras.
Of all the eras, right? I mean, everything's on the table now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So I think this is where I flip, because I think I'm most excited about the new Jedi Order. And I think that would be it. It would be new Jedi Order stuff, like burgeoning forth into the future, with no sort of ending in sight. We've talked a lot about, different ideas for that, and I'd really be interested in understanding what a Jedi Order looks like now. Like after 25,000 years of history, like where do we go now?
Right.
And,
right.
That's what's most. Who are the new? What are the new threats? What are the new political stakes? How do we do things differently? Yeah. That would be the most exciting for me.
No, I love that, and that's what kind of I'm really excited about the Rey movie, or the new movie, but it makes me a little nervous that we're getting a movie, right? And there's not like a guaranteed trilogy or a series. I'm like, but this is where we need to be
kind of like
in Star
Wars. It
Wars.
Needs to be super compelling and amazing, but they kind of can't put too many eggs in that basket just in case it's not perfect, right? Because it's like then everything that comes after it has to honor it, and like what if it's not perfect? Like that's going to be the hardest movie to make.
It's really going to be hard, yeah.
Yeah, it could be difficult.
I mean, it's exciting, right? But like, what if it's too safe, and it's like, now we're stuck with, the Emperor's
like
2.
Just another
there was another
movie.
clone who's the like Rey's brother, and that's existed, and they're the new Emperor, and it's like, like I don't know, what if they get penned in by some like too safe decision, and now they have to deal with it? It's a bleak outlook going forward.
I know. It's really, that's the one I'm most nervous about for that reason. Is that's the one that's got to land. They got to stick the landing on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that mean bringing Adam Driver back as a ghost of some kind? Does the dyad still play? It was built as this sort of.
I think that would be too safe.
Years.
I mean,
I don't know.
Really?
Maybe like, I wouldn't hate him communing with Rey, but I wouldn't like it. Like, who taught him how to do that?
I personally would, because I was like, I just didn't need any of that, honestly. I just didn't. There's so much of that happening that I was like,
I just don't understand. It's like, so like, Obi-Wan Kenobi had to study with his old master who had figured this out on his own, how to commune after death. And then it's like, and then Yoda did it. But Yoda also went, talked to like some, like, he didn't go to Mortis, but.
Well, Qui-Gon also talked to him, right? I think,
right. But then, like, Luke
ghost.
just knew it. But I mean, he talked to Obi-Wan, so okay. But like, no one, like, so.
Yeah.
But no one talked to Kylo or to Ben Solo, so it's like
no.
And no one.
But
talked
apparently,
to,
Anakin
no one
also knew how to do it.
To Anakin, but Anakin knew how to do it.
Yeah. Stop pulling at the threads.
Right. I know. Like, you know what I mean?
No, but I know. But I know what you mean.
Like, and all of a sudden,
I do.
Ben Solo can do this also.
Yeah. But we know that he and Leia did become one with the Force, so they can come back, but we don't know why. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
unless Force ghosts can
These
talk
are
to
the
other Force
difficulties.
ghosts, and then you're like, it gets a little murky and weird.
Yeah, I mean, they were all there at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Were they not aware of each other, or were they having like a side
I know,
conversation while they're watching the party?
Like, what's going on?
All right, Ben, I have a two-parter for
right.
you. This is a big one.
I love this.
I'm going to pose the same question I posed to Adam to you, which is, what is your favorite directed scene in Star Wars? Your all-time favorite scene, the exchange of the characters and the acting, and basically who the director was of that film. And then you have never said a negative word about Star Wars. Or you rarely do. You rarely.
I love this question.
I dare you to say one thing that just grinds your gears about Star Wars. One scene, one moment. It's just your favorite moment, and a moment that just you could walk out of the room for. You could
very appropriate.
Bathroom break.
Very appropriate. All right, so I'll start with my favorite scene. I'm swamped. I was thinking about this too, because I was like, is it like something from Return? Like, I thought about that scene on the catwalk leaving the AT-AT in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. The same one Adam highlighted. Very effective scene. A bizarre scene for a villain and a hero to
It's such an outlier too, because like Vader shows like cracks in his armor. Literally.
Oh yeah.
And like where his heart truly lies.
That's the moment you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's as a kid, to jump in real quick to hijack your answer. But I feel like part of me, the reason why I was so okay is in Return of the Jedi is because of that scene. Because if you don't have that scene, at the very end between Vader and the Emperor, you're just like, oh, Luke's dead. Like there's nothing left in Vader. But you have that moment, so you can see you have that unconscious knowledge that Vader is still reachable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was kind of yours. So I could probably do honorable mention. You could have it. Would be Obi-Wan in his own hut talking to Luke about the Clone Wars and in a New Hope. I mean, I think just
your father was the greatest starfighter in the galaxy
and a good friend.
Yeah,
and I mean, because Sir Alec Guinness, and just killing it.
I was about to fight you guys on the pod the other day. I was like, you know what, you guys talk a lot about Obi-Wan, but I'm like, I'm kind of like Alec Guinness only Obi-Wan. That's like kind of where I sit, and like you guys are all Obi-Wan, and I'm like, I'm not even like animation Obi-Wan. I'm not like I love Ewan McGregor. I love prequel Obi-Wan. I grew up on this stuff, but Alec Guinness just brought that X factor, that like I don't know, that mysticism that was just I don't know, awakened the entire thing.
He had a trajectory.
Something about
maybe that's what's so cool about the character is that like he wasn't always perfect. I loved that new novel that they had. It was like Obi-Wan's like adventure. I forget the name of it now. It was just called.
He's like not. He's like making crate dragon noises and like mind tricking stormtroopers in a New Hope.
And then you have the Twin Sons episode, which is season 3, episode 20, where you get him interfacing with Maul and Ezra.
Wait, that happens in season 3? What happens in season 4?
Jeez. A lot of Lothwolves happen, and.
A lot of Philip Glass.
Yeah, they need to move our crew over to Lothal because that's like 1 BBY. So, I mean, so that the Twin Sons. I mean, because that's where he arrives. I mean, Obi-Wan is amazing because like he's not perfect. He makes a ton of mistakes. He does all these sort of things, but he is kind of. I do love him younger, but like when he arrives as Obi-Wan, this is like what Qui-Gon always wanted to be. This is what Ahsoka is probably going to be in the next series, and like, it's Gandalf sort of territory, Force user, and it's like his ethos should inform the new Jedi Order, I think. Okay, so you want me to say something negative?
You have to,
I cede my final question.
You have to.
For this to be the final question.
I've never heard Ben say a negative word about Star Wars. I hope everyone's listening right now.
There's like no Star Wars I don't like. I mean,
and we cannot do Jedi Rocks, and we cannot do
Jedi Rocks. Yeah, I let that slip.
And we cannot. It's everyone's go-to. We can't do.
And I finally let that slip.
You already said it.
Yeah,
you got it.
And what a controversial.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I have to say, like the CGI. I always defended the CGI upgrades on the original trilogy, but like after watching A New Hope, I was like, in the approach on Mos Eisley, I was like, oh, buddy. But all right, so not that doesn't count. I will have to. I think I have to say the beginning of Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
All right. It's
I'm listening.
It's way too fast, and it's like they didn't take the time to like sit in an environment and explore the space and understand the space and like flesh out what's going on in a given scene. It was just like dialogue move, and it's like I want it. If it's Mustafar, show me the stupid temple. Like have something happen there that's important. If they're stealing these things from an asteroid and a person, let's like I get a little bit more into that. What is hyperspace jumping? Like what are the ramifications? Like I know that like the mystery and like don't worry about it, just go with us. It works. It like does work for Star Wars a lot, but mostly I'll just stick with Mustafar if I have to pick one. And it's like if it's Mustafar, make it Mustafar. And make it obvious and like show me the like don't just put me in a forest on like a mid shot and like miss it, because like to me I want to be, if I'm gonna be in the galaxy and I love like losing my mind and being in a galaxy far away, I want to know where I am and what it's like there.
Yeah, I mean, as 3 giant Star Wars fans who saw it twice on opening night together, none of us even thought, hey, was that Mustafar? Like, we had to be told later. Here's the thing. I want someone to show me the work, show me the proof that was Mustafar.
For a fan like me.
As written.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't.
What?
It was some random planet, and Doug Chan or someone else said, you could probably just call that Mustafar.
The grasslands of Mustafar said no one ever? Like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's way too reliant on Palpatine. Like the beginning of that screenplay is like, and then we get to Palpatine, and that's what's so cool.
Minute 3.
Palpatine, isn't that awesome?
No, Mustafar.
If you do
Vader's castle would have been awesome.
So this is what I'm saying. So what you could do is this would just make it a vastly superior movie. Is if you basically just in that beginning sequence on Mustafar, you have Kylo Ren meet his grandfather. In the castle, and it's like, but then you show that voice mutate into the Emperor when he gets to Exegol. You know what I mean? Like
it proves that he's been manipulated.
You get the same thing. You get your cake and eat it too.
You twist it later.
Instead of somehow
you get a Vader
the Emperor
cameo.
return. Yeah, it would have been.
And you could have teased with Vader too, and you could have held the Emperor back. Like there's ways you could have marketed it differently. There's things you could do that are just wild.
That's it. I need a shower now.
That's it. Yeah, well, that opening is pretty rushed. I agree entirely.
Yeah, it is really fast.
Like a real choice, the Lightspeed skip.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it was just bombastic. It was like, oh yeah, the Duel of the Fates didn't work. Lightspeed skipping. It was like it feels like such a pitch from like, look at us, we'll dazzle you with the pros screaming.
I know.
Like
I would have been fine with a standard like just. Escape
I know,
sequence.
like a real slow opening somewhere on a one planet. Kloss or
take your time. It's the
or
last
Luke and
movie.
Leia fighting to start the film in like a super meditative like kind of situation.
Yeah, I mean, I will always argue Avengers Endgame, which had a lot of leeway up to it, but it wasn't for 35 years.
A ballet act. That film is an absolute ballet act.
And you know what? Said this is going to be over 3 hours, and you're all going to say thank you, and we all did say thank you.
Yeah.
I think it should have ended there. I think the MCU should have ended right there.
Oh, I mean, 100%.
Just don't know what we're doing.
Phase 5 and 6 proven that.
Anyway,
I don't know what.
Anyway, Ben's like, I say one negative thing and the wolves pounce.
And now this is a Marvel.
Sorry. That was my last question. I thought that was
That's it. That's the last question.
Is that it? You don't have another one, Adam? Is that it? Oh yeah, because you started. All right.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna leave after that. That was kind of perfect in terms of it. Also leads into a bit of what you'll see in Cantina Chronicles. Not us being negative all the time. I want to make that clear. No. It's not gonna be a negative test, but we are gonna be a little more open and loose.
We want this to be a fun, comfortable space for people to come who want to listen to people talk about Star Wars. We're gonna be talking about what's happening, what's pertinent to what's coming up. just having fun and just speaking our minds about what's going on.
Share your hot takes. This is a safe place to have your fun takes on everything and anything about Star Wars, and all fans are welcome. We're
yes, all fans. Yeah. And by the way, we may have hot takes and we have strong opinions, but there will be no toxic fandom. Do not worry about.
We couldn't do that if we tried.
We love all of it.
So hopefully, I mean, it's hard to really describe, but you're just gonna have to tune in and check us out. So. We appreciate everyone for keeping up with the news on Core World News. There's a lot of you out there, and we greatly appreciate it. We hope you enjoy the new format. It's just going to be us doing what we do, hopefully better. So that's the thing. And a little more aptly titled.
Come join us at the
bar and talk about the galaxy far, far away. It'll be great. Well, all right. Well, I guess it's kind of with a heavy heart, but this is really just a new beginning.
I know.
I'm just going to say thanks very much for listening to us. I don't know if you've listened to all 300 episodes. Probably no one has except for us. But we greatly appreciate it. We can't wait to talk to you next week as Cantina Chronicles. Until then, stay safe out there, and may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you always.